just going to leave everyone behind, and I'm going to go find new people. And I was like, oh, well, I'll find, you know, English people, proper, with a T, stuff like that. When I got there, a bunch of the people who came with me on my first trip were already friends. So the first few days were a little bit awkward, but after that, I kind of like stole one of the girls from the pack, and we have been best friends ever since. We did every activity together. We scalped tickets, which didn't work, to a football match, which Victoria Beckham was supposed to be at, but didn't show up. And we did absolutely everything. Got tea, walked around Piccadilly Circus, they made me go on a scavenger hunt, a paper chase, as they call them. And it was absolutely epic. So leave your friends at home and go make them. Now you lost it. Okay. So, when I went to London for the first time, I told myself, don't say no. In my freshman year, I found that I was constantly saying no. No to certain parties, no to certain friends. I just very much needed to let go. Although I had no need to feel liked or to fit in on campus, I thought that maybe my unhappiness stemmed from my sense of resistance. So my sophomore year, I gave myself a mantra. When opportunity arose, don't say no. Unless, of course, it was really stupid. So I took my ideas on my first week on my semester abroad. Although I may have been fatigued and had concerns about money, about friends, about certain choices, and making good grades, I had to leave my unchangeable self behind and leave the baggage of who I was before on the American side of the Atlantic. I think in retrospect, a lot of great things that came from my semester with this new attitude. A lot of great things from the semester came with that new attitude. One weekend, I jetted to Paris with 3 girls, 2 of which are here tonight. I just literally left my agenda at home, which was very different for me. Also, we kind of knew each other, but not so much. And just kind of taking the risk of making a big kind of European excursion for me was not a gamble, but it turned out really great. And anyway, so as I said, I stopped myself from hijacking the planner and let another girl named Christine take the wheel. In this instance, there was a time when I wished to play by my planner and take control. But with the opportunity, I just let go and said no to the control freak within. Getting lost in the streets of Paris, eating crepes at my leisure, and climbing to the top of the Sacré-Cœur was just an example of learning to let go of my expectations. I also learned to let go of the word can't and won't. There was also a day in London when I took myself to the Tate Modern, crossed the Millennium Bridge, looked at St. Paul's Cathedral, looked at my watch, and couldn't say no to trying to explore the big place in the last 40 minutes of the day. I ran and climbed 365 steps to the top of the world I love, and I looked down at the view of the city that I began to call my own. From the top, I could see all of the places I was almost too timid to go before, and found that if I had let my expectations get in the way, I would have never found these different parts of the city. All in all, I couldn't give up the chance to just try and let go. But in truth, in my freshman year or senior year of high school, if anyone asked me if I wanted to study abroad, actually I would have said no. It was not on my agenda at all. But 3 semesters later, I am so glad that I said yes where it counted.
I want to talk to you about your game plan for going abroad, because on your pre-departure, they will bombard you with things that you should do. And I want to preface my story by saying I am the world's biggest planner. I keep like an online planner, I have a real planner, should make a pre-departure list. You should have a bucket list of all the things you want to do, all the things you'll be mad at yourself about if you don't do before you leave. But when you get on the plane, you're going to have a plan B. And your plan B should just be surprised. Because you really can't prepare yourself for what you're going to be in for. And I think the need to plan is our need to try to control something that we can't control. We don't really yet know the culture we're jumping into, no matter how much you think you do, no matter how many times you watch Bridget Jones, you don't really know things yet. And the plan is to just be surprised. Case in point. So, for those of you who don't know, the English celebrate Guy Fawkes Day on the 5th of November. And there's always a bonfire, and there's lots of celebrations, and kids dress up kind of like Halloween. So Guy Fawkes Day is something really new and exciting for Americans. So a couple of my friends and I wanted to make the most of it. So we went to a source and asked our British culture professor what we should do on Guy Fawkes Day. And he directed us to, there's a town you've got to go. They do these massive bonfires, and it's like, there's effigies, and it's insane, and blah, 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 blah. And, like, really selling us on it. We're like, okay, like, where do we go? What do we do? And he was like, you should catch the first train out of London Saturday morning to, like, Nowheresville, this town. So, like, we were so up for anything. We were like, guys, plan, celebrate Guy Fawkes Day. Check. So we all hop on a train. Literally Nowheresville, England. Like, British people, like, told this story to you after, or like, where? Like, where'd you go? So, it's literally this town, and it's, like, in a little old English village. Think of, like, any fairy tale you read as a kid. And it's surrounded by these, like, rolling hills of England. There's nothing around. So we get off the train, it's, like, 9:30 now, and we're, like, Team America. Like, we come in, we go to the tourist office, and we were like, okay, we're here to celebrate Guy Fawkes Day. Like, where do we go? Where's the bonfires? Like, where's the burning flag? And these, like, 3 old ladies were just, like, drinking their tea, and they were like, what? And we were like, Guy Fawkes Day, we're here to celebrate. And they were like, well, that was 5 days ago. And we were like, oh, no, we were told the celebration was on the weekend. She was like, no, you were really misinformed. There's, like, nothing in this town. It was deserted. So she was like, oh, we've got this map of things you can do here, and it was like east, like there was nothing to do. So we were like, okay, it's 9:30, we're in this like town in England, the next train's not till 8 p.m., so what are you going to do? So she's like, there's a Norman Saxon castle that you can go to, but it's up that really huge, unattainably high hill, so go climb. So we were like, okay, let's climb. So we like went up and it closed. And there was nothing to do. We walked into the pub, now it's 4 p.m., and there's a bunch of old men, and, you know, we're just talking and we're loud, and we're Americans, and you'll find out that that's what Americans do. They just talk loudly and travel fast. And everyone was just, like, looked at us like we were literally from another planet, like a group of teeming Americans who were just really excited for nothing. Like, literally nothing. This is what these people have done every day of their life for, like, the past 20 years. Just sit in the pub, and we're like, what kind of beer do you have? And they just thought it was really weird, but the plan totally got screwed up, and we missed Guy Fawkes Day, and we ended up having to bum around in this English town, but they're some of the best memories that I have of my first semester. And when your plan gets messed up, which it will, because you're going to have a list, you should go with that list, but you should also make room to add things to your list, and add to the list right now, that you're not really going to know what's going on most of the time. And if you just kind of surrender to that and open yourself up to what your country has to offer, you're just going to make great memories, and you're going to be surprised by things you never even thought you'd find. So, plan to let things happen, and great things come your way.
There are so many days, especially in Madrid specifically, because it was my second time studying abroad. I kind of felt like I knew how to study abroad and everything. And so there would be so many days where, like, we went out the night before, and all my friends were huge partiers, and they would be sleeping the day away. And I was like, well, I want to stay in my apartment all day. So I remember very specifically one day I just decided to go out and explore my neighborhood. And so I just left my map at home, walked around my neighborhood, and then ended up stumbling upon this theater that I had no idea was there. It was only like 2 2 blocks away from my apartment. And so I found this theater, and I saw that, 2 weeks from now there was going to be this really cool, modernist, flamenco, new wave show. And so I just bought tickets for myself, thinking that it was going to be another thing that I just do on my own, because that's what I did. But then I told all my friends about it, and they were like, oh, that sounds really cool, and ended up having a bunch of friends go with me to this show. But I never would have even known about it if I had just stayed in my apartment that day instead of going on a walk by myself. So that's the number one piece of advice I can give you, is don't be afraid to go off on your own and do things on your own, because that's sometimes the best way to find new things, is to just go out and explore by yourself, because that way you get to make the rules and you don't have to compromise with anyone. And then my second piece of advice is wherever it is that you're going, find something in that place that makes you feel happy, and makes you feel at home. Because I promise you, no matter how much fun you have, there will be days when you're there where you're just like, I want to go home, I want my mom's cooking, I want my bed. There will be those days. And so when you go and you find things that are make your heart happy, on those days when you're feeling homesick, or you're feeling you just want to lay in bed that whole day and feel sorry for yourself, you can go to those places and it'll sort of rejuvenate you and make you feel happy. For example, when I was in London, I found that I'm not a super religious person, but I loved going to St. Paul's and to Westminster Abbey to hear the choir sing, and that choral music is something that really makes my heart happy. And so on the days when I really was feeling down in the dumps, I would just go to hear the choir sing at St. Paul's, and not only is it a beautiful place, but the choir music would just sort of rejuvenate my heart, and I was like, oh, yeah, I love it here. This is amazing. This is not something I could hear in Boston or in Hartford where I live. So that kind of rejuvenates you and makes you remember why it is that you love the place that you've come to study abroad. So those are my 2 big pieces of advice. Find something you love wherever you are, and don't be afraid to do things by yourself.
Anybody?